to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. You might be surprised if you tuned in before. There is a new intro. I'm just playing around. Um, just playing around with different sounds from the sound packs on Logic. Um, I don't know why. I feel like I've been craving a change. I was debating in the last few days whether I should change the name of the podcast, whether I should change the intro, whether I should change everything about myself. It went quite extreme. I got to be honest. At times, I think I just felt like I just wanted something new. Didn't know what, but I just felt like. I felt really tired this week, and I feel like for anyone who lives in the UK, apparently it's like a common thing now. The hay fever season. I definitely felt like I was struggling with the breathing. My head hurt a lot in the last few days, and I don't know if it's to do with that. I don't know what it is to do with, to be honest. But I definitely felt a bit more miserable in the last few days than I felt in a while now, actually. And again, I don't know why. I have no idea. I can't tell you for a fact. I think I kind of like acknowledged it last night, just because I think that was the pinnacle of misery, that I felt. And I was just like, oh, I can't. Like, this is so tiring, and I think the sadness that I felt in the last few days, it kind of again it went to its highest point last night, and then I fell asleep on a couch. Woke up not long after. I'd say maybe like half an hour later, and moved the party to the bedroom, and fell asleep until this morning. And I woke up feeling much better. So I also took some antihistamines last night, though. So I don't know if that's the reason why. But no, it's been again. It's I've been busy. I've been running around. Although I went back to uni. I think this is the last month, and I've got 2 more exams, and then I'm done, which is quite nice. Wrapping up the first year. Is it easy? No, I have to. I've learned quite a lot. I've tried my best to keep up, and I feel like it's not been easy at times. I think the whole like stress from the day to day from my old job and just life has not been that good. But it's been a. Let's see how actually before I say my thoughts on the first year of studying engineering. Let's finish the year first. But it's a big month this month, and I think this is the first podcast in May. Actually, I don't think it is. And I didn't even know actually until a couple of days ago that May, it's like the Mental Health Awareness Week is in May. I'm not good at remembering stuff like this. You know, I feel like when I speak to people, or I feel like even because I do this, it's always mental health awareness, So I thought that I should prepare something for this. I should make it sound as if everything that I've done, or like everything I'm about to do this month, it's purposefully for the mental health awareness month or week. But I thought this wouldn't be genuine because, again, I've just realized that a couple of days ago. So, look, treat every single episode that you listen to, whether it's the one today, whether it's the one next week. Hopefully, you come back. Whether you've listened to previous ones, treat them all as if they are for the Mental Health Awareness Week, because they kind of are, Because I'd like to think that the people that I bring on is not only that they share their stories, but it's also they share how they felt at the time that certain things happen in their life, and even how they feel now. How they look after themselves, because I've got in the past, what, almost over a year actually, since I started recording for this. I've been very is the word blessed, to speak with people who have not only very interesting stories, but they've also been very vulnerable when sharing those stories with me. And honestly, to have had that sort of um, privilege, it's not something that I take for granted. So because of that, because of the conversations that we had, because of the way I tried to form those conversations, they are all for the Mental Health Awareness Week. Every single one of them. I'd like to think so. Obviously, I address many other things, or we talk about every many other different topics, but ultimately they are all for mental health awareness. It's I think one of the ideas, again, in the last couple of days and last week, I've been thinking about, like, I felt like if I make a big change in my life, maybe everything that I'm upset about will be will be gone, will disappear. And as a part of that, I was thinking about um, yeah, like again, the podcast, the name of the podcast, the what do I want to do with the podcast, and things as such. And it turns out that I want it to be the vision is the same as when it started. You know, I want to show people that everyone who's struggling with personality disorder, you can be like highly functioning. You also, again, if you're impacted by it because someone in your life that you care about is struggling with it, you can be frustrated by it. You can be angry, but then you can also be happy. You can be, all feelings are valid and are good feelings. And again, anger is sometimes incredibly valid. I feel angry very often, especially recently. um I feel sad again quite a lot. And then even yesterday, for example, I would normally get very angry about feeling sad, you know. While yesterday, I think I got to the point where I just accepted it. I just acknowledged the fact that I'm sad, and I didn't even question it that much at the beginning. I was just allowing myself to just feel sad, just watch TV, and just sit with that feeling. And then later, maybe like an hour or so in, I started asking, why is it I'm sad? What is it that it's caused this? How can I either fix this, or should I just like allow for this to just run out? Sorry. And then I ended up falling asleep, and then yeah, I woke up not thinking about it that much. And another great thing is that I woke up not being angry with myself for being sad last night, which is something that in the past, I would have done a lot. So again, this is what I want the podcast to be about. I want for people to perhaps see if they can relate to my story. I feel awkward still saying that. Oh, I want to share my story. I feel like I've shared it quite a bit, but I want people to, for everyone who's listening, to kind of, because again, for years I've been struggling with the thought that, am I the only person in the world who has these feelings? Am I the only person in the world who's struggling this much? It felt very lonely and uh, sad. And then when I've eventually got diagnosed, or like when I started doing DBT, and I've met all the other wonderful people that I've done the DBT with, and I've realized when I've listened to their stories that we actually, share a lot of, a lot of thoughts, and I'm not the only one. And it felt good because, again, maybe in a twisted way, but it felt good because it was like, okay, at least I'm not the only one. And yeah, look, all I'm trying to say, guys, is um, enjoy the episode, enjoy the conversation with Val. I think it was such a pleasure. I mean, I think it was such a pleasure to have her on, and hopefully, I will have some more very exciting news around um, a possible comedy collaboration. But again, stay tuned for that. But yeah, it was such a pleasure to have her on. And look, she's a busy person. She's a busy woman. She's going around loads of places, and it was quite cool um, to have her take the time to be a part of this. So enjoy the episode, and yeah, I'll catch you after. Okay, so Val, how should I call you for this? Val or Valeria?
Valeria.
Valeria. I love the name.
Thank you.
It's such a nice name, and it's so nice to use some names that I kind of like grew up with, and just like say it casually. It's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for making the journey to East London to record this. How long are you in London for this time?
I'm leaving Tuesday and then I'm coming back for a couple of weeks after Easter.
After Easter, nice. And yeah, because you're based in
New York. Yeah.
Nice. What's that like?
It's nice to be based in New York because that means you are not in New York a lot of the time, meaning to travel around.
Okay, okay.
New York itself is quite intense. But it's a wonderful city with a wonderful vibe. It's just that it's also hectic.
How long you been there?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. And then where did you live before?
Before New York, I spent a couple years in Europe, mostly in Spain. And before that, I was in San Francisco for 6 years.
That's interesting. So when you, because just to go like all the way back, so you were born in Moldova?
Yes.
And then when did you leave?
I left just after high school, so I was 18.
And then you left for Spain?
No, I left for the States.
No way. How come?
I went to college in the States. I got a scholarship. So
in San Francisco?
No, that was in the Midwest in Iowa.
No way. How?
How? Google, the wonders of the internet. I looked up a university that offers scholarships to international students, and the only one that admitted me was a college in Iowa.
And what did you study?
I studied math.
And were you doing comedy at the time?
No way.
So when did you get into comedy?
Oh, fairly recently, like a year and a half ago.
How come?
It's an interesting question. How come? I did improv before for maybe 3-4 years.
Okay.
I was also writing. I wrote mostly poetry, but it always had some humorous elements in it. Then I wrote something kind of like a memoir, autobiographical.
No way. Is it published?
No, it's a work in progress. Don't ask me how long I've been working on it.
I won't.
No, you can, but I'm ashamed.
Why?
Just I procrastinate a lot. Someone needs to give me a deadline.
Okay. Well, let's say 1st of June. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no. So all these things had humorous elements in it, but I only really started stand up a year and a half ago. Oh, and you asked me why. I suppose there's always been a desire to do something creative. Like I've always had that. I just, at some point in life, decided to be a responsible adult and ignore all that. And then turns out being a responsible adult is not so fun. So then I went back to add more fun things in my life.
And where was that when around or like around the same time you moved to New York?
That's why I moved to New York.
No way.
Yeah.
And because before that you were living in San Francisco?
I was in Europe, so during COVID, I was working in California. During COVID, I could work remote.
Right.
So I went to Spain.
Right.
Mostly. And then I had to come back to the States for like documents and stuff.
Right.
And when I came back, I tried an open mic in San Francisco. And then I was like, oh my God, I love this. I need to do more of this. So I moved to New York.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So there was no like, because again, I haven't done it myself either, but lots of people that I bring in the podcast, they talk about how they've done perhaps like a comedy course or, you know, I've only bought loads of like comedy books and I just like read through them and that was it. So then have you done any, like how, I guess, yeah, what was your idea behind, oh, these are the kind of jokes that I want to make? Or the style or anything like that?
I don't know. There's something mysterious about the creative process, right? Like some of those jokes I wrote in my first ever open mic, I still use. So I don't know how it all came together. Maybe it was the writing coupled with improv or other things I've done. But I actually did a stand-up course 13 years ago.
No way.
I did my grad show and then that was so stressful. I was like, I cannot do this. So I have tried stand up before. It just took 13 years to try it again.
Wait, what was that in Iowa?
That was in San Francisco.
San Fran, okay.
Yeah. It was actually, I was already complaining about my corporate career and, how it's not so fun. And my cousin signed me up remotely to a stand-up course. She's like, I think you should do this. And then so I did. And it was really, the course was really fun. But then I found the grad show, just being on stage, I found it terrifying. I was like, I cannot do this.
Fair enough. And then how long, because actually wait, because I have so many questions now. First question is, when you left like for college, have you ever been to America before that?
Yes. For 1 month during the year before, I went to a summer math camp.
No way. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it like then? Like, what was your like parents? I guess thoughts when you're like, hey, I'm going to America to study.
They were happy for me. I think back then, leaving Moldova was considered the best thing you could do.
And then were you able to, how often were you able to, I guess, go back, or like how often were you able to like see your parents or like even family in general?
Well, once a year, I think, and twice a year once I started making some money, like working on campus. But yeah, I saw them quite regularly.
The journey, it's...
Oh yeah, it's quite a trip.
Right.
Especially back then, there were so few flights. It's easier now, but yeah.
Like, if you don't mind me asking, because what was because especially because I imagine for like the state of like Iowa, what was it like? Like what was your journey like? So
well, it was like, so the capital of Iowa is Des Moines. So they have flights to Chicago. That's the closest big city.
Right.
And from Chicago, you'd fly usually somewhere in Europe. And then from that place, you usually had flight to Bucharest.
Yes.
And then from Bucharest, I'd take the overnight train.
Damn.
Yeah.
I actually think I remember now that Chicago is like such a huge airport as well. So yeah, that, I do remember now. But and then what about your cousin? Because you said she signed you up remote.
Mm-hmm.
Is she in Moldova, or did she also leave?
She also left. She was mostly in Portugal.
No way.
Yeah.
So you got like the family all over. What about your parents? Were they like did they live their whole like do they live their like whole lives in Moldova, or did they live around left for different
No,
countries?
they've always been in Moldova.
No way.
Yeah, they don't speak English, and I don't think they're gonna learn it. So
Have they been to like visit you in America?
yeah, my mom has twice because I forced her,
No way.
threatened her, bought her a ticket, and guilted her into coming. Otherwise, she really doesn't like to travel.
Well, again, which I actually think that when I first left like my hometown, um, I hated going back. Even now, I kind of like hate, like low key hate it,
Really?
just because of the logistics behind it.
All right.
You know, because I was born and raised near Suceava,
Mm-hmm.
but then flights from UK to Suceava are only they used to be from London.
Mm-hmm.
But then outside of London, when I used to live in Manchester, it wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
So then I'd have to go to like Liverpool or Sheffield, and then fly to Cluj or Iași, and then have to like take a train or take a bus or whatever. And yeah, no, I hated it. I feel like if there would be such a thing as like teleportation, I'd be the first one for it.
Yeah. Well, it's better now. There's direct flights to Chisinau, where my mom lives.
Oh, from
London.
From London.
From London, and even from New York, it's not so hard. You
No
can
way.
fly like New York, Vienna, New York, Istanbul, Chisinau.
Chisinau.
Yeah, it's much better now.
That's good. Well, again, and that makes a huge. So then, in Moldova, you and your like families, like your parents are based in Chisinau,
Yeah.
the capital.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What was it like then, like growing up? Because that would be what, around 2000s,
I left in 2004.
2004. If you don't want to, yeah, why? What was your reason behind at the time?
Oh, it was, Moldova in the 90s. I'm sure Romania too, but Moldova even more was very difficult economically.
Yes.
And I just didn't see any opportunities. It was kind of a given ever since I was, 14, that I got to leave.
No way.
Yeah, like out of my high school, I don't know how many people are still in Moldova, maybe like 5, but everybody left.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it was like if you could, you left.
Right. Because then, if you say if America wasn't like, did you like have like a second plan, or like plan B and C and stuff like this, or were you pretty much like America is the place to where you wanted to go?
Well, I actually wanted to go somewhere in Europe, but I didn't find any university that would give me a scholarship.
Oh, okay.
And actually, despite the common perception of the United States, they do have private universities that offer scholarships, which isn't as much of a thing in Europe, in continental Europe especially. Like you could have not pay for studies, but then you'd have to work to pay for living.
For living, yeah.
Whereas in the US, my college gave me like paid for my living, for my food, for my everything.
And then was it like one of those things where you sign to say that you have to like work for the said university or anything like this? No. But then I guess it was just based on like having to like keep your attendance and having good grade or something like that?
It wasn't based on anything.
Oh.
Yeah, I just had to, pass the year.
Test, yeah.
The test, yeah. No, it was quite a generous college.
And then when you were back home, were you like a creative child? Like because you were talking about like how you started doing poetry. Was that around the time when you started writing, or did you start, I guess, exploring this creative, not your like creative side after like while you were in college, or say like after 18?
As a kid, I did a lot of things. I also wrote what I called at the time poems. Looking back.
Do you have them?
My mom must have a copy. I'm too frightened to look at them. But I did that. I wrote songs. I always organized some concerts.
No way.
Yeah.
What kind?
Just with my cousins. I had a ton of cousins, and I was the creative director of our family shows, and then and then for winter holidays, traditions like what would they be called in English?
Caroling?
Yeah, that's for Christmas, but then for New Year's, when you go around and
Say it in Romanian?
Crăitură or things like that.
No.
You don't have that?
No?
Where you go around and you wish people gușorul, things like that.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I would say still like caroling.
It's like caroling, except it's not religious. It's for New Year's. It's wishing you a prosperous prosperous year ahead. It's actually, it comes from pagan traditions, so it's not Christian.
Yeah, I remember.
So I used to write personalized ones for each family.
No way.
And make my cousins learn them. And then we would make costumes. Go around the village or even the city, go around all our neighbors. And we made a lot of money too. So,
I think that was a good time as a child. I remember like Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
Was the time when you would make a lot of money.
Yeah, it was fun. And we were the best because we were many and we had personalized personalized poems, and it was a ton of fun. Yeah.
Was it this thing? Because I remember with my family, because we grew up in a Christian like community, so like Orthodox Christian, and you'd have like sometimes you knew the kids who are like the best like Christmas like carolers and stuff like this, and you had to like almost make sure that you book them. Like people like adults would like actually fight over.
Oh wow!
So and so is coming to sing carols at my house between like 7 and 8. Watch this space sort of thing before the. Was that like a thing as well, where like people would like try to like book you in advance or make sure that you must come to my house?
No, now you made me feel like I wasn't as famous as I thought. Nobody booked me.
Yeah, it was like the sort of like a comedy club before comedy clubs were a thing in Romania.
Yeah, but I had such a big family, and also my parents had so many friends in the neighborhood that it was enough.
So I guess because that would actually answer my next question, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I'm curious to find out more around it. Was it like the sort of like was again because you're talking about how like you and your like cousins were like very creative, very creative. Was that the sort of vibe around in like your community?
I think so. In my family, so my dad had 9 other siblings,
right?
And so I had a lot of cousins.
Yeah,
and I grew up among them, and they always had family parties. And at family parties, they also were always singing. Some of my uncles wrote songs.
No way.
Yeah, they all had a great sense of humor. We were always joking around. So yeah, it was a very fun, creative environment.
So then, I guess because I ask you this, I ask this question sometimes later on, but I feel like here is appropriate to do it. Appropriate to do it even at this time. Your vision of like what you would be as a stand-up comedian when you first thought about it, does that match the stand-up comedian that you are now?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of fell into a style that I don't even know how that happened. I never sort of envisioned what I would look like, but it's sort of like the first style I picked is the style I'm doing now, and I'm currently thinking is that what I want to do? I'm not sure, but I'd say I'm a lot drier than than my family is, or
no way,
than what I am in real life. But that's kind of what I picked, and it's worked, and I like it. We'll see what I do next. I'm not sure.
But have you heard? Because have you heard on the back of that? Have you heard this thing? Because like I've been told that, for example, because like I do as a Romanian comedian, he goes like, oh yeah, this sort of like dry style of humor is like, oh yeah, that's like such a Romanian style of comedy. But then I'm like, I feel like the sort of comedians that I grew up like watching on TV were actually some of like the goofiest people ever, which is like, and I even feel like sometimes when I go through like my say like Instagram, and then I go on the the real library or like Explorer, I laugh so like hard at, again, like very goofy, silly sort of jokes, but then the perception of like people non-European, not sorry, non-Romanian or not from like the Eastern Europe, I guess, is that, oh yeah, Eastern Europeans, they are so dry and very like dark humor or very, which I always found quite like weird because I never understood it why. Because I feel like sometimes when I say I do like a set now, and someone would come to me and be like, I love that, yeah, like that's such a like a typical Romanian sort of, like what I would expect of a Romanian comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why? How come? Like, have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, I have heard things like that, like, "Oh, you're so Eastern European," and yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm not sure. I think we don't have like a big reputation for being people who smile a lot, but I think we do laugh a lot. We don't have in between. We skip the smiling, but
Yeah, it's either laughter or
or
shouting or just being angry.
serious. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe that's why. But yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Yeah, again, it was just more like a
Yeah.
curiosity because again, if you were to if someone was to ask me like what would I define like Romanian comedy or the comedy that I grew up with, it wouldn't be this. It would be like, actually, there used to be like these guys wearing like those like massive bow ties, or just being what's his name? Actually, I even forgot his name. Dor Octavian Dumitru.
I actually don't know any Romanian comedians.
Okay.
So-
But yeah, you see, so but he was like a very goofy sort of like guy. He was like on TV. Oh, Namarin, I think that was a big one as well. And he was just like this guy from Oltenia who's like carrying parsley with him all over the place and weird stuff like that. And I was like, that's, to me, that's what I kind of like grew up with. I didn't grow up with, if anything, my sort of like dark or dry comedians like Bill Hicks or like George Carlin. It's something that I discovered in English,
Mhm.
not Romanian.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now I think about it, I didn't watch comedians, but there were these sort of shows on TV. I don't remember their names, but they were all goofy. The ones that was meant to be humorous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. So I don't know. Interesting.
Anyway, but now let's go. Let's find out a bit more about America, because I'm obsessed with America. I love.
Still, you haven't gotten over it recently?
No, no. Still, I feel like yeah. At any point, I would happily leave, or like I would happily make a life there, because it sounds tough. And like the more I look into it, I'm like, yeah, it kind of you need a lot of money.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just like, it just sounds so cool. But you get like those like the largest drinks in the world and stuff like this. Like that's pretty cool. That I will leave my healthcare for the best burger in the world, being like two I don't know, 2 streets down from where I live. And also, I love even the way was it the same with like Iowa, with like home addresses. When he's like 94th and 5th or something like this. And I'm like, how do you know where that is? It sounds like people make up street names and numbers.
Oh, no, that's more of a New York thing. Yeah.
Right, okay. But then now you're in Iowa. Because then you've got there. Was it like what you thought it would be?
No, it was a total shock.
What was the first thing that you were like, whoa, what is going on?
Because I hadn't visited the campus before I got there, and I just saw how small it was, and then I asked, where is the bus or train station? And people were like, what train station? There isn't one. And I'm like, how do you guys go to the city? And they're like, what city? So I was like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of nowhere. What am I going to do? And I think I just cried. I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck here.
So then what was it? Because it's just driving around. Is that the...
Yeah, so most of America is just driving, right? I think like every place other than New York, you have to drive around. I didn't have a car, so I didn't have money to buy a car, so I just stayed there.
How long? How long after you got in? Where was it in Iowa? What was the name of the town that you were living in?
So the college was called Grinnell College, and it was in Grinnell, Iowa. That gives you an idea about the size of the town. If it's the same name as
It's just the college, yeah, like the one
like a
college.
town of like 10,000 people.
No way.
Yeah.
And then how many other students were a part of like the scholarship that you were on, or like how many of them like were like I guess like foreigners?
I think there were 20% foreign students. The scholarships, I don't know. I think they had like 3 or 4, but they had a lot of
Right. Okay.
international
So
students.
was anyone else who came from Moldova or like Romania or?
No, they had like one scholarship for Europe a year, so there were a few people in
No way. And you
all
got it.
years. Yeah, I got it.
Well done.
Thank you.
And then how long after you got in? Oh my God, I forgot the name of the town in Iowa. How long?
Grinnell.
Grinnell.
How can you forget?
Sorry.
So memorable.
Grinnell. So how long after? Because you were talking about how you were just like, hey, I can't afford buying a car. You know,
Mhm.
how long after you've been in Grinnell did you actually manage to travel around a bit? Or
No, I never did. Like all throughout college, I never did. I was there 2 years, and then I did a year abroad, which is very common in the US.
where'd you do that?
I did that in London.
No way.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun in London. I kind of made up for the 2 years of isolation.
So I guess that when the pandemic happened, you were like, "Oh, this is college all over."
Yeah, exactly.
What was London like when you first came here?
Oh, London was super fun. Yeah, I loved it. I was very broke, but at the university there were so many parties, so many social events.
Right.
It was very, very vibrant. A lot different from.
Which part of London were you living in?
I lived in a student dorm near Tower Bridge, which is a gorgeous area.
Oh, that's like East London.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was beautiful there.
I think that's where my partner, because she lived in the dorms as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I know was also near like like Mile End.
Mine was like literally next to the river, next to Tower Bridge.
Very nice.
It was a very luxurious area for a student dorm.
And then what was that then like, I guess, for you when you were okay, cool, I'm in America and I'm in a town in America, and now I come to the biggest city, at least in England. I don't know if it probably maybe not in Europe, but the biggest city in England.
Mhm.
The vibe is totally different, right? Because
Yeah.
like here you actually can rarely drive, or not really.
Yeah. Oh, I was so happy and I was so thrilled. I felt a bit like, because I grew up in the capital of Moldova. So I grew up in the city. I mean, it's a smaller city, but I felt like a city girl. And then when I came from Iowa to London, I felt like I'm moving from the village to a city. Yeah, it did feel like a big change.
And then if we're looking at, you've done that here. Now you're coming over from time to time as, a comedian, or even just, you're coming for leisure, I guess. Is it much of a difference that you've noticed?
In London?
Yeah.
Well, the hip areas keep moving further and further east. I remember because then after I came and I worked in London for a year and a half, and I used to live in Shoreditch, and that was a cool part. And now that part is expensive.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, so I feel like things move further and further away. You have to live further and further away, but it's a common phenomenon.
So then you've done the year in London. You're going back to Iowa for your last year.
Yeah.
Graduate. And then what did you do after that?
I worked in consulting and management consulting for 1 year in Boston.
No way. What was that like?
It was intense. It was a lot of 80-hour weeks, a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of meetings, and a lot of questioning of what am I doing with my life.
No way. God, and because it was that like straight after you left, or like straight after college, or did you have to? Did you go back home for a bit
Well, I
and
went
then
home
got the
for
job?
I think the summer, and I
Okay,
started in September.
September. But then also like when you're moving around so much,
Hmm.
how do you do it? If you don't mind me asking, I'm genuinely like logistically, I'm curious. Like, do you take your stuff with you? Do you just leave it and you like kind of like start a new life again? How does it work?
I think I just don't have a lot of stuff, and yeah, I'm so used to leaving and starting, and I think I've lost the concept of a home. so, so yeah, no, I have all my things are probably 3 suitcases. And I go home a lot. I mean, to Moldova, and I always, pick up some stuff from there and drop off other stuff.
Okay,
Seasonally.
okay.
But yeah, I never have furniture. I never have a lot of things that aren't essential.
No way.
Hmm.
And how come? Like, is that something that you've consciously made, like a decision that you consciously made, or is how did you get to, I guess, do that?
Well, when I was younger, it was usually moving somewhere for a job,
Right.
and now I mean, I lived in San Francisco for 6 years. That's my longest stint anywhere.
And were you in the same place, if you don't mind me asking?
No, no, I wasn't. I moved around also, but in San Francisco, you're always chasing cheaper and better rent. Um, so that was the reasoning there. But since I left, which was 2020, I've kind of ended up being a nomad, not necessarily by choice. It kind of just
Okay.
happened, and now I'm just rolling with it.
No way. That's incredible, because I feel like, to me, again, one of the biggest parts of why I perhaps I don't think I generally, actually, I don't enjoy traveling,
Hmm.
because I hate the traveling in the
Hmm.
traveling. I like going to places. I like visiting new places. I love food. I love culture, but I don't like the commute between
Hmm.
those. So now, like hearing you, I'm just like, this would make me so anxious all the time, and I almost, I don't know, because I feel like on the opposite. I'm on the opposite, where like, say I go back home. Like, I've been at the beginning of the year. I went to Romania for a bit.
Hmm.
The last maybe 4 days of the trip were actually just me dreading the fact that I have to like pack up,
Oh wow.
and I have to like take a taxi to the bus station, then take a bus to the airport, then go from the bus in the airport in the plane, and then get the run for the train in the Luton, and then run from the train to the tube station, and all this stuff. I'm just yeah, just makes me feel so uncomfortable and like so frustrated. So then, yeah, now it just sounds amazing that you're kind of like, yeah, it's pretty much, you live in Boston for a year,
Mm.
and then, yeah, and then what happened? So after Boston, is that when you came back to, no, because you're talking about like how you did the pandemic, I guess, in
Yeah, there's
Europe.
a huge chunk of time before 2020.
And then, but then what did you do after Boston?
So after Boston, I quit after a year and had an existential crisis, and I
What
came
was that
back.
like?
Well, it was terrible because I was very young. I was 21, 22, and I was kind of living with this idea that I studied math, which is
Not easy.
applicable to anything, and I can have a good career
Yeah.
in anything, and it would be great. And then I discovered that actually I don't like this at all. It has nothing to do with math. I don't like being in an office. What do
Yeah.
I do? It was kind of a big wake up call. It's like, oh, the real world is not what you thought. It's no one wants you to prove theorems here. So my only thought was to go back to studying, back into academia.
And
So
is that what you've done?
yeah, I did a master's in London.
Right. So that's a second stint.
In London, yeah, there's a few.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been zigzagging around the world for a while.
And then because you were talking about how at the time you were in Boston, you're like, hey, like this is not for me. I don't feel, it's not like I guess what I thought it would be.
Mhm.
Were you speaking with someone at the time about it? Were you like, I guess, like open with your family, or were like with your close friends, or
Yeah, but my friends kind of felt similarly. And I was speaking with my mom, but I don't know, for her, all this corporate world is so foreign and it's like
so what?
foreign and like she doesn't
Oh, foreign.
understand.
Yes.
She doesn't understand. But yeah, she didn't want me to be unhappy. She was like, if you need to leave, just leave. Just,
No way. That's nice.
Yeah. It's like she's understanding without understanding.
Which I think is one of the cutest ways to do it.
Yeah.
I remember my mom used to be like this.
Hmm.
My mom would like, because I'd be like, you don't understand really, but I'm just glad that you're like supporting
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I mean, she was also worried because I came home in Moldova for a year and I didn't do anything.
No way.
And she was worried. She would come back home after work and bring me a newspaper with job postings.
When was that? Was it after London or
No, that was after Boston, in between Boston and London. And
Between-
after I came and I did a master's in London.
right? Okay, and then how long was that? Because how long are the masters? 1 or 2 years?
1 year.
1 year.
Just too short.
Really?
Yeah, you don't learn so much in 1 year, but it's the UK system is very quick. It's like 3 years undergrad, 1 year master's.
Yeah.
It's very quick.
Is that similar to any other country?
No, it's the shortest I know of.
Oh, interesting. Very expensive though.
I mean, not as expensive as the States.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it more expensive?
In the US?
Yeah.
Oh, education? Yeah, it's like 50 grand a year.
No way.
Yeah.
Just the education, like that's not the including, I guess, like a maintenance loan or like to live off.
No, that includes everything. But just
Oh.
tuition is like, I don't know, 25, 30.
Damn, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, again, out of curiosity, were you allowed to say like have a job while you were studying in America?
Yeah. So I worked in on campus. But like what job can you get in a town that has 8,000 people?
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
I
You're
guess-
allowed to work part-time as a student.
right? And was that the same with the masters in London?
Masters in London, no, I wasn't allowed to work.
No way.
Yeah. But I had a scholarship too.
Oh, okay, that's good.
It was tiny, but somehow I made it.
You sound surprised. You're
Yeah,
like,
I am surprised because when I look at the math, it's like they gave me £1,000. No, they gave me £1,200 a month, and my rent was $950. So I don't know how I made it, but I made it.
like, yeah, it worked. Eventually, it worked out some way.
Magical economics. Like a lot of the stuff in Moldova, the economy like doesn't make sense to me because if you look at how much people make and then how much bills are, you're like, this doesn't add up. How do you guys survive? And I don't know. Somehow people do it.
That's very interesting because I do think about that at times as well. But I'm like hearing back from like people back home and stuff like this. I'm like, so from your like salary, you manage to, like again get a mortgage and get a house and pay the mortgage and then pay the bills. But then say like, from what I hear, your expenses are like 700, say like £700, but then your salary is 500.
Yeah.
So where is the other 200
Yeah,
from?
exactly. I don't know what happens in Eastern Europe. Just some magic. I don't know.
Yeah, like I remember a friend of mine just going like, oh yeah, just like saving up, and I'm like, how are you saving up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it just sounds like you're spending. It's almost like, I guess that's like perhaps that's like the Eastern European version of like cashback. It just comes out of nowhere.
Comes from I don't know. Maybe you're always in debt. You're always like a month behind. I don't know.
But then to whom or like how?
Friends and family.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, but still, because then again, like, how do you save up when you have that? But anyway,
I don't know. It's a mystery.
It is a mystery very much. But then so this like I guess the nomad sort of not even mentality, but like this sort of like living. How did you because again, like now you're studied, you've been around the world, you've done quite a few things. You're back in London doing the masters,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're leaving again. Like, do you not, I guess, like get tired, or do you not, because you were talking about the idea of, which actually that was one of the reasons why I left Manchester, because I've been there for about, I think, like 12 years,
Mm.
and I was like, I don't feel like home here. Like it feels like it's almost like I have a base, but I
Mm-hmm.
have no emotional attachment to this place.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually, yeah, my existential crisis was pretty much the case of like, if I were to like die tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
it would be as if I haven't been here,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. So then, anyway, my coming back to the question that I tried to ask, or like the point I tried to make, is, yeah, how did you get to do this, or like how do you get the energy to perhaps like be like, yeah, that's cool, I can just like move around whenever I want, I can, like whenever I have to leave, I leave and stuff like this.
Well, I didn't. A lot of times it wasn't by choice. Like I left my job because I hated the job, and then I lost my visa, so I couldn't go back to the States because the visa was dependent on the
On
job.
the job, okay. But
So
then,
I had to find another place. Then after my master's in London, I wanted to stay in London, but no, I couldn't find a job that would sponsor my visa, so I had to leave again.
oh yeah, of course, right, I forgot that. Yeah, you need to, yeah, you'd need like a sponsored visa.
Yeah, so a lot of times it wasn't my choice. I feel like the world has turned me into a nomad. I might have, if it was easier to stay in a place, I might have just stayed.
Oh, okay. Because then, what? So then but then also, like when you went back to Moldova between those times,
Mm.
I would have been pretty much of like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of just going.
Still, like I looked at jobs, at what I could do, and I didn't find any jobs, honestly.
No way.
I didn't find, like, in my mind, everyone in Moldova was waiting for me and my American education to contribute to the economy, but turns out no one was waiting for me. And
That's
and
quite funny.
I couldn't find anything, or at least anything that seemed appealing in any way. I mean, I could have found some government job that would pay me, I don't know, at the time, 100 euros or however much.
Oh God.
And but it didn't seem like it would be fulfilling. Also, politically, Moldova was a mess at the time. So, I mean, arguably the whole world is right now. But yeah, I just didn't. I thought about it, but I couldn't find anything, honestly.
Right. Okay. And then what was the next move after London?
So after London, I looked for a job for about a year. That was a tough year because it was so I graduated in 2011, so that was like the second wave of the financial crisis. Again, I never had a clear idea of what I wanted to do. I was sort of looking at the job opportunities of the university and kind of seeing what might be a fit. I must have made like thousands of applications and I didn't get anything. So finally, I found a job in Berlin. So I moved to Berlin.
Germany.
Yes.
How long for?
I stayed there a year because I really wanted to stay in London.
Right.
And but I couldn't find. And then after a year of being in Berlin, I found a job in London, so I came back.
Oh, you came back here.
Yeah. So that's my third stint.
Third stint in London.
Yeah.
And then how long you been here again?
A year and a half. And again, I moved after, not because it was my idea. My team at work was being relocated to California. And so they asked me, I either go or I find another team within the company.
Right.
And I had been to California visiting for work and I liked it. And I guess because I had already moved so many times, I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. So I went to California. So that was 2015.
2015. And then you were in San Francisco?
Yeah.
The entire time?
Yeah.
And that was and then also, like, while you're doing this, were you, I guess, traveling for like holidays?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
No way.
But honestly, I spent most of the holidays going to Moldova.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had seen other places in Europe, especially when I lived in London because it was
it's easy.
Yeah. But But yeah, I spent a lot of holidays in Moldova.
But then, yeah, what was that like then? Because you're like now on the, at least I guess that's like after like what, 2012. So it's easier to fly around and do things.
Yeah.
Also, you must have been like almost like in the how do I say, like in the force, in the center of, you know, seeing and like acknowledging the changes and the beauty of, like, I guess, like airports or like connection flights and stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very aware of how much easier travel is now.
But then what? Then, oh, sorry, because my question would have been then, yeah, did you have to like take into consideration of like, okay, well, now I live in America, then it's going to take me this long to go to Moldova. Now I live in London, then it takes me this long, and now I go back to America. Not only do I go back to America, but I go to the one of the the furthest west, points in America.
Yeah. Yeah, I considered it, but initially when I went, I thought I'm only going for a year.
Right. Okay.
I thought I would come back to London, but then I didn't. I don't know.
How come London? Like, what made you? Because I guess do you see, I guess, London perhaps as a home of some sort, or is it more of like a hub?
It's a hub, right? It's the English speaking Europe,
Yeah.
and it's easier to get home from here. And I have longtime friends here as well, and I studied here, so I do have a connection with London.
But then also another curiosity I have is about Berlin.
Yeah.
Do you speak German, or did
No.
you have to speak German for the job?
No, I didn't.
Right. So it was just like English speaking job based in Berlin.
Yeah, and I tried to learn German, but I gave up quite quickly.
No way.
Yeah.
Have you been there ever since you started doing stand up to like try and do comedy?
I haven't. I want to actually. I met so many comedians from Berlin at the Fringe last year. So yeah, I would love to go there.
Now, actually, you know what? Because we are 45 minutes in, and we've barely
touched the book.
Yeah,
it's all my moving around that has kept us busy.
we are still drawing.
We're still tracing.
The line, yeah, tracing. So now what was like then? How did you do? How did you even like plan the Fringe then? Because like, you no, wait, at the time you were still, no, you live in New York.
I was in New York.
So you're in New York. You're based in New York. You're doing comedy in New York. And yeah, what's that like?
Comedy in New York, well, it's where I started, so it's kind of the only thing I know. I mean, I've done some shows in London, but I mainly know New York. It's there's a lot of opportunities for stage time.
Right.
It's not all great stage time.
Yeah, I think that's everywhere.
But I think to start there, initially I was doing like 3-4 mics a day. Nice. So it was good to start there, I think, because you just can do a lot. And yeah.
How would you compare it, I guess? Like, even like, I guess the mental tool that those like 3-4 mics took on you, like, were you did you feel like, was it taking a lot of your energy?
Yeah, I mean, the commute was taking a lot of my energy too between these, and a lot of them were bad, or like there was no one there.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I would have moments of like, oh, this is not worth my time. I should just sit home and write. But then you write and you're like, okay, but now how do I test it? So I always went back and forth between doing many and thinking I should stop and then going back. So yeah.
And then you've done, because then if you've done the Edinburgh Fringe last year, that must have been, you must have taken that decision quite around the time when you started doing stand-up.
Quite quickly. I mean, I didn't do my own show at Fringe, so I didn't have to, logistically it wasn't so hard.
Oh, okay.
I think I found out about the Fringe from another comedian, and I was like, oh,
in America, or
yeah, in America, and I was like, oh, I could just come and do spots. That would be good.
Wait, so is that like is that like a big market of American comedian? I've never been to the Fringe, by the way. So that's why I'm asking you this as a person who has no idea. Yeah. So is there like a big market of people from New York that come to do the festival?
I think from all over the states. I think there's a lot of Americans at the Fringe.
No way.
Yeah, it's quite popular.
And then when you were here, were you staying in Edinburgh, or were you staying outside of Edinburgh and kind of like getting in for the?
I mean, I wasn't staying very centrally, but I was staying
in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
This is something that I find like shocking and hard because, again, I know that, and I think this is actually one of the main things that put me off doing Edinburgh in the last couple of years, even like for a week or two. It was just this idea of like having to find accommodation when everyone's just like running around and like desperate for accommodation.
Well, I had to find accommodation in New York, and I think that's harder. So,
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's much more expensive than Edinburgh, even during the Fringe. So I think, the Fringe to someone coming from the America is not so expensive.
No way.
Relatively, yeah.
This is mind blowing. Because I actually thought that, to me, like the peak of.
Well, not this year. I looked at the prices this year, and because of Oasis and everything that's happening, no, this year the prices don't make any sense. But
are you going this year as well?
It's TBD. I don't have a venue and I don't have housing, so we'll see what happens.
But that sounds like a very like nomad fashion. You might just rock up there.
Maybe, but this year I wanted to do my own show, but I don't have a venue yet because I applied late. So,
what was do you have the like? Have you wrote the show?
I did.
And what if, without like giving too much away, what is it about?
The first half, it's about Moldova and growing up and family and kind of my background, and then later on, it's about living in the U.S. mostly.
But then, what is it about, like living in the U.S. from the perspective of?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the only perspective I have.
Yeah, which is a fair point. I realized as I asked the question, I was like, this is a very dumb question.
No, it's not. it's just, I don't have another one. And I'm not like a storyteller, so a lot of it is sprinkled with just random one-liners and things like that. So,
but then you see, actually, this is another thing about like not being a storyteller, but yet you're doing this like half of the show about like technically like telling the story of you growing up in Moldova.
Yeah, so but it's telling a story it's sparsely telling a story, right? There's a lot of blanks that the audience has to fill in their minds. It's like thematically connected, but it's not like, oh, when I was growing up, this is what I did, and the story about me. It's not like that. And
because you were talking about how your parents don't speak English, but does anyone like in your family does, and then if they do, have they actually watched you perform?
My cousin has, the one that signed me up for the stand-up course.
How was she like at the event, or did you send her a clip after the show?
I sent her clips, but then she saw me at the Fringe because she was visiting Scotland for other reasons. So she dropped by. Yeah.
What was her impression?
Very positive, at least to my face.
And then also, are you, for someone who doesn't, so even say someone who's listening to this or someone who meets you in the context of like a everyday Valeria, are you different from how different are you from the comedian Valeria?
Well, people say I'm very different. People are very surprised when they meet me that I laugh in real life. And they will be like, oh, you do smile. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then the friends that know me, they're surprised that I don't smile on stage. So I think that the style is very different to my, at least it looks very different from what I am in real life, but I still feel like I'm me on stage. I'm just, I'm me in a work setting. Like I had to be serious there. But I would frequently sprinkle in some lines that were funny to me. So
interesting. But then you like the thing, especially with like not laughing on stage, is that like a decision that you made willingly when you're like, hey, like this is what I want to do on stage, or did you just notice that like it worked better to just perhaps like say the line and not actually react at it? Or
yeah, it wasn't conscious. It's kind of what I first wrote. and then I rolled with it, and then I think it's like kind of self-sustaining because the other things I wrote were mimicking sort of the same style. So now everything I've written is kind of like that.
Oh, on that style, or like everything
Yeah.
is pretty much based on like, oh, this is the sort of person that you get to see doing this joke,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps that's why it would work, or like that's why it works better.
Yeah, because you can't really like mix, right? You can't really do, or at least I don't think you can mix styles. If it kind of has to fit within your voice, within the voice that you've picked.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then also, like, do you feel like you picked the voice, or do you almost feel like the voice picked you?
Ooh.
Very
Yeah, I
curious.
guess the voice picked me because I didn't, it wasn't such a conscious decision. It's kind of what I felt like writing, and I wrote it, and now it sounds like this, and now kind of it's how I sound. But it's possible that I could pick another one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't yet, and I don't know if I will. We'll see.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then now I wanted to ask you, or like, I guess throughout like all this, throughout all the moving, throughout also that was a pretty like bold decision moving to New York, going like, no, I want to try doing stand up in probably, from what I heard, like one of the most difficult, or like the kind of like the hardest places to do stand up comedy in regards to like the potential and the talent. So how did you come across that decision? Like how I guess how long did it take you from the point where you were like, I'm enjoying doing stand up, I might try and do this as a professional. I'm gonna try and like see how far I can get to. Okay, now on my flight to New York.
It took a few months, I think. Yeah, I did like an open mic in San Francisco in like February. Then I did another one in May. And then, oh no, I went to New York in May for like 2 weeks, and I did a bunch of open mics there.
Right.
And then in mid September, I moved to New York.
In mid September. Oh, okay, right. So you did. Was that?
So I count starting stand up in September because before then I had only done
Yeah, a
a
couple
few
shows.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But then is that the decision about like, because you went to, when you went to New York for the 2 weeks in May, was that as a, oh, I want to, like, you going on holiday, or was it actually, oh, I just want to see what
It
the
was for
comedy,
comedy.
right,
It was
what
for
the
comedy.
comedy scene is like, and then you were like, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
How do I
Mm-hmm.
transfer my life
Yeah.
and my 3 suitcases on the other side?
Exactly.
Okay, and then, but then, yeah, for like this whole like entire time, because you're moving around, you're doing all these things, because you did talk about, I think, like your family, coming from like a very big family, talking about like having like friends from London. But then how did you manage to perhaps look after yourself while you're on the road so much, and while you're doing all these things? Are you still like, yeah, like, say when you move to Boston, for example, friends, you have like, how long did it take you to, I guess, or like how social are you, I guess, or like, again, like, yeah, what was that sort of?
Yeah, I'm pretty social, but it was hard in the beginning because I mean it was my first job. Sort of before that, I was only in university. That kind of comes with friends
Yeah,
by default,
yeah,
and at work. But because we were working such long hours, we were friends. Like we had
right.
all our meals together. So I had friends. What I didn't have was free time to enjoy my friends.
Fair.
So yeah, that entire year is kind of a blur from all the working and the fatigue. But I did have friends. You can still feel lonely if you have friends, just because I had this sense of like I don't know what the future holds, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no one can help me with it. Like I have to figure it out. So in that sense, it did feel very lonely. But on a day-to-day basis, I had a lot of social interaction.
But then, and then from moving again, because my I guess I was just curious about, obviously, from that moment on,
Mm-hmm.
then like when you're moving around, so now say you're in Berlin, Were you perhaps, I don't know, like reaching out to other people and like, hey, do you know anyone in Berlin?
Yeah, I always do that when I'm in a new city, and I mostly made friends at work there, and
Right, all right, okay.
some friends of friends, and yeah, but I'm used to doing this when I move to a new city. I kind of like know what to do. You know, I sign up for things. I do a lot of activities outside work, and
Really?
I ask people if they know anybody. I figured that part out.
That's actually quite nice because I feel like when I first, I think even when I came to London, and even now, I'm still guilty of the fact that I think I've been traveling all over London for comedy, but I actually don't know. You know, like I think I've been to with a friend of mine, and they were like, "Oh, let's go to this like restaurant in I think it was like near Covent Garden." And I had no idea. And apparently, like one of the best restaurants. You should try it. You should check it out. It was like a Hong Kongese restaurant with like the dumplings are meant to be some of the best dumplings that you can get in the UK. And I was like, that was like alien to me because again, I'm usually just like traveling. I'm traveling around, but I don't necessarily travel with a purpose. And then when I have a day off, I just want to stay home.
That's fair too. Why not? You can try the restaurant in some other time.
Well, you see, this is the thing. When now I have friends visiting London, they're like, "Oh, let's go there," and I'm like, "Have you been?" And I'm like, I didn't know this place existed, although I live here.
Just lie. Be like, yeah, I go there every Tuesday.
Yeah, they know me. And just like, oh, just new stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, I guess we were talking about how the Edinburgh Fringe is TBD, but then what's the plan? What's the plan for you? Because you're still based in New York, in London for a little bit, going to Moldova for the Easter holidays, then back to London. But then, yeah, have you got anything planned? I guess coming up, or what's what's your schedule looking like for the rest of the year?
You caught me in a moment where I'm trying to figure all of this out, so I don't really know. I don't know if I'll go back to New York. I had planned to do a show there in June, which was going to be a test run for my French show. I like New York for comedy. I feel like I can do more spots there. But then I like London geographically better. There's also the political climate in the US right now. So, yeah, I don't know. There's also Brexit that makes life difficult for Europeans. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening.
Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? Without, again, I don't necessarily like a political podcast, but I'm quite curious. What's it like? Or what has it been like a massive change? What's happened since the latest elections?
The massive change is more in the mood. It's not nothing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
But then you also have there are mayor elections coming up in New York as well, right?
Oh yeah, and there's a scandal with the mayor as
Yes.
well. I don't know. It's all just a little bit pessimistic.
Right. Okay. Okay. As compared to London, where everyone's just so full of energy.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it affects the whole world. Also,
Yeah.
you know, they talk about Trump here too. So it's
so much.
yeah,
Yeah. It's almost like I sometimes forget who's like the prime minister of England.
yeah.
Just because I don't know if this happens to you too, but like because I have I follow some like news outlets from Romania on Instagram just because again I'm just curious, you know, to see like what's up. And I feel like I see more stuff about Donald Trump from Romania than I actually see from like American news outlets. Like, what is happening? Why?
Yeah, he's a popular figure on the world. Well, America is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then I guess, oh, actually, okay. One last question before we wrap it up, because I was wanted to ask you your perception of America before you lived there. Was it different from what it was like life actually there? Especially because again, you pretty much have been in almost any all the environments that I can think of in regards to like what America would be like. You've been like to a more like rural or like small city, small town America. You've been to West Coast America. You've been to East Coast. I guess unless you haven't been to like Texas or
I've
something.
been there.
Okay, but then was your perception like your what you thought America would be? Is it pretty much what it was, or
No, it's very different, and I joke about that in my stand up too. I imagined America just like New York. I imagined it would
everywhere?
all be just cities and skyscrapers, and I imagined everyone lives well. Like I didn't imagine poverty in the U.S. I thought that was a Moldovan thing.
Wait, do they have it?
Poverty.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, I didn't think that life there is difficult. Like I thought that once I get to America, everything will just solve itself.
Nice.
I mean, I was also 17 when I thought that, but yeah, I never imagined that it can be so rural and so
Right.
disconnected because in Europe, right, even the most remote village has some type of bus that goes to
Yes.
the city,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have that. Like they don't like America doesn't like public transport. It's also a lot more spread out, so it's more difficult. I didn't know that there are so many poor people. There's so much poverty in America, and it's in your face and it's visible on the
Right.
streets. You don't have that in London.
Really?
Yeah, not as much, not nearly as much as New York
No
or
way.
San Francisco. Yeah, where there's a lot of homelessness, a lot of drug use, a lot of
Right.
it's a lot less happy than I imagined. America.
Okay. Well, now where do people who want to like check out your work see? Because I feel like I don't know what's the next segue from that,
Yeah.
but on more like joyous.
Yeah, was I just the dark Eastern European comedian you expected me to be?
It's like everything. It's
Everything.
not good. It's really terrible.
Not everything. No, there's still great things about every place, I think.
Yeah, of course. I think that's a given.
Mhm.
And again, like my question was actually like, what is it that you've perhaps thought you wouldn't see, and then it's kind of like because I had no idea. Like when you said these things, I was like, oh, I feel like London has got like a pretty like a poverty. I would say like but an issue for sure, and it's quite like easy to see it. And then I'm like, oh no way, it can get worse. Or like
London is sparkling clean compared to New York.
seriously. Okay, well that's good to know.
Well, come visit me.
I would love to. I'm hopefully getting some like things sorted with work and studies, and I'd love to. I feel like next year I definitely want to try out because I obviously have like the pleasure of like knowing you. I know some people in like Florida as well, comedians, and then like Texas and maybe actually I don't think in California, but I have friends in like Philadelphia, and I'm a huge Philadelphia fan, so I want to go for sure. And also New York is like on the list; it has to be.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, the vibe of New York is unique. So,
Perfect. Well, now what's your like I guess social media handle? Where are you most active? Where do people find your work?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, despite my wiser self. I am often on Instagram, and I'm at val.vulpe. That's Vulpe. That means fox in Romanian. You know that, but others don't. So yeah, I post my clips there, and and I hopefully will come to the Fringe. We'll see. But yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, that's quite actually because I realize now you have Vulpe and I'm like
And you are Lupu. Yeah. We're the forest.
Yeah, we're just like making a little what's it called? One of those like drive-through zoos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In my class, there was someone Lupu, someone Ursu, and I was Vulpe. So that's a bear, wolf, and fox. And then my teacher had an idea to do a scene with the three of us being the forest animals.
But this is the thing actually, because I realized that I've not every, but like most fairy tales or like those like little stories that you like tell children in Romania. At least to me, there was a bear, a wolf, and a fox. Even like those like very like silly like almost like dad like Eastern European dad jokes.
Yeah.
The three most used, maybe yepure as well.
Yeah.
Like, which is a rabbit. But then urs, so bear, fox, wolf, it's in like everywhere. Every single tale
The
has
trilogy.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like that would I think if I were your teacher I would have been like, you can't waste this opportunity.
Yeah.
But perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
So, was it good? Was it what you hoped for? I hope so. I hope you enjoyed it. And I definitely, again, enjoyed the conversation with Valeria. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to share some other cool, exciting news in the respects of possible. Again, I spoke with Valeria about the possibility of doing a split bill, like a comedy night. It will be in London. Um, so yeah, just keep an eye out and on my socials, her socials, and then we'll see how that goes and where we get with it. And by the way, at the beginning of the podcast, while I was talking to you, when I was like, sharing my thoughts on the mental health awareness week and how I felt recently and things as such, I was also being interrupted quite a lot by Sarma, just trying to get pets and like bumping her head into me, which was wonderful, was very cute. But perhaps you would have gotten me distracted at times, and maybe I think this is why I didn't know what to end on, because I just lost my train of thought. But look, I want to keep this as genuine as possible, so I'm not gonna do another retake. And so, yeah, if you enjoyed it, please, yeah, share, subscribe, like, all the good stuff. And then if you didn't enjoy it, I guess at least subscribe and see if it's gonna get better next week. I'd say don't give up yet. But I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And I forgot there was something else I want to say. Oh yeah, by the way, if you have any recommendations or any feedback on the shows, the episodes, the guests, or myself, reach out. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to listen to see what people think, basically. But yeah, from now for now, that's it pretty much from me. And thank you all for listening. And yeah, until next week, from me, Pickle and Sarma, stay skillful. Bye.